Hi, I'm Jackie Smith. I'm the Native Advertising Coordinator from the Northfield News, and I'm here today with David Ludescher. He's a Northfield attorney who practices elder care law, and I just wanted to talk to him a little bit today because I don't really know much about elder care. So tell me, what does an elder care practice entail? What is that? What's the topic about?
Well, there's quite a few different areas. The areas that I've covered a lot of times with people, one of their biggest concerns is, what if I go into a nursing home? How am I going to be covered? Are all my assets going to be taken away? How can I save something for my kids, or how can I save something for my spouse? And I will walk through the issues that they may have with regard to nursing home care. For example, you can buy nursing care insurance. Is that a good idea, or is it a bad idea? What do you need to do if you do want to preserve your assets? And the general rule is you have to give away your assets 5 years before you're going to get government assistance. If you give it
5 years.
5 years.
Okay.
If you give it away and then you have to go in the nursing home and it's less than 5 years, that will count as if you gave away your money for the purposes of going into the nursing home. So there's a big penalty associated with that.
Sure, sure.
And people are concerned about that because they've heard of family, friends that have gone into the nursing home and they've lost all their money.
So explain to me how that works just a little bit. So let's say either my spouse or I have to go into a nursing home or am planning for that eventuality. When you do that, do you automatically get government aid to go into a nursing home, or does the nursing home get to look at your assets and count those in, and is that where this all factors in? Tell me a little bit about how that all works.
Yeah. The general rule is you can't get government help to pay your nursing home bills unless you're poor.
What's poor?
Poor
What's
is
the
defined,
federally level?
yeah, it's $3,000 in assets. So literally total. Well, for one person, $6,000 for a couple.
Wow. No one is poor, essentially, then.
Essentially, no one is poor.
So what else is elder care about? What else should I be thinking about?
A lot of times, especially if you don't have a spouse, you might want to think, what happens if I become incapacitated or incompetent? Who's going to manage my affairs and how are they going to manage it? And there's two things: your finances, and you probably want to have one, two, maybe more of your children, and perhaps if you have a lot of money, a bank or a financial institution managing your money. Because if you go in the nursing home or you're incompetent, you want to be taken care of, but you don't want your money to be spent recklessly. So people come in and say, I'm concerned if I become incapacitated, what's going to happen? Well, if you don't have any documents set up, you're going to have to go to court because no one will have the authority to spend your money.
Okay.
So that's something I'd certainly recommend for anybody, past retirement. They ought to think about that.
Okay.
And even if you still have a spouse that's alive, you might want to think, well, what if we had a common accident? Or what if we just didn't get around to changing our stuff and now we're in the nursing home and we become incompetent? You really should have that backup, somebody there that can take care of your affairs.
So you said there were two things, and you talked about finances. What's the other?
The other thing is a health care directive. Who's going to take care of you if you can't make your own health care decisions? The worst case scenario that we all heard of a number of years ago, or at least people my age, maybe your age too. I don't think you're as old as I am, but
we're not going to find out right now.
is the Terry Schiavo incident.
Oh,
where
sure.
Terry Schiavo was in the hospital because she had an injury. Her husband wanted to take her off life support. Her parents did. And there was no document that governed that. Well, that same sort of thing can happen to all of us. And so if you have a document that says who you want to manage your care and what kind of care you want, then the doctors can rely upon that and they can use that to make their decisions. So
what else should I be thinking about? Not that I'm terribly excited to think about this, but I think we've seen enough in the news to know that this is a really important topic for people to think about. The baby boomer generation is getting older. It is the largest generation. What else should they be thinking about?
Well, I would say just some of the mechanics of what's going to happen when you're deceased. Funeral planning. I see more and more people doing funeral planning, and it's a good idea. Because if you don't have enough money and you need to go on government assistance, you can spend as much money or almost as much money as you want to plan your funeral. And you can also plan your spouse's funeral and pay for it. So you know that everything's taken care of.
And that burden doesn't fall to your children.
And that burden doesn't fall to your children.
Now, what happens if I don't do that? In a worst case scenario, can my children, can my heirs be responsible for the costs of my funeral? Can they be held responsible for that?
They cannot be held responsible. On the other hand, there are very few kids that aren't going to bury their parents and give them a decent funeral.
Of course.
Yeah, because they're your parents.
Yeah, but why would you want to put your child through that?
Yeah, why would you make your child pay for something that you can pay for with your own money, and the government's going to not only let you do it, but actually encourage you to do that?
And tell me how that works. How does that work? That whole process. So I am preparing for my own funeral. Not only is the government wanting me to do that, they're going to help me do that. How are they going to help me do that? Specifically, how does that work?
Now I'm talking in a situation you don't have a lot of money.
Right, of course. You have to qualify.
You have to qualify, and you know you're going to be spending a lot of money on a nursing home, for example. The government encourages it by saying that's one of the things you can spend your money on. It's not considered a gift.
Okay.
So let's say you have $100,000 and you know you're going to go in the nursing home. You don't know how long you're going to be there. Well, that could be gone in a year.
Right.
You can take your money, you can buy your funeral expenses and pay the whatever.
Sure.
You know, nice
Plot,
one, 10,
casket,
15,000, yeah.
cremation services, whatever.
You get all that set up. You know, you go down to your local funeral home. You know, Andy Langhow, wherever.
Yep.
And you say, Andy, I want to plan my funeral, and you put the money in there, so it's all set to go. So then, when you do die, all the kids have to do is contact the nursing home or the funeral home, and everything's already paid for, everything's already arranged.
And you're not penalized for the fact that you've set that money aside in advance.
And you're not penalized for that.
That's what you're saying. Okay. Totally understand. Okay.
And it's a great gift to the kids because they're grieving. Hopefully they're grieving over your death.
I'm sure they are, yes.
And they don't have to spend the time to arrange for your funeral.
Right, right. Understandable. Okay.
Another thing that you should do too.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt there.
No, go.
But is make sure that you know where your personal property is going to go, especially if you're the last spouse living.
This is the will conversation.
This is kind of the will conversation too. But
yeah.
You don't even have to have a will to get rid of your personal property. You can do it by a written document as long as it's signed. So if you know your two kids...
Just signed.
Just signed.
Just a piece of paper signed that says,
Correct.
I give this to this person.
Correct.
Really? Doesn't have to be notarized?
Does not have to be notarized.
Okay. That seems like that could be so easily challenged in court.
Well, it could be, but on the other hand, if it's in your signature and someone can attest that that's your signature, at least it's a place to start.
Sure. Sure.
And a judge is going to uphold it because the law says that it's valid.
Okay.
So whoever wants to challenge it's going to have to.
And what's the benefit to making sure that I've distributed my property among whomever I want to have it before I become incapacitated or unable to make that decision myself?
Then you can assure yourself that there's at least going to be one less fight in the family.
Okay.
Personal property probably constitutes about half of all the fights, I would say, in probate.
Really?
Yes, because money you can divide up evenly, but
Right.
you know, mom's jewelry, you can't do that, or you know, dad's gun, you can't do that. It's a piece of personal property. So
That's interesting. Okay. So I want to start right now. What's the first thing I should do?
I have a form to fill out, and that'll get me started on what you have and what you need to do, and then we'll just have a conversation. What's your concerns? What are you worried about? What do you want to make sure happens? Who do you want to be in charge? So I can and you can start writing the documents directing other people how you should be taken care of if you become ill or if you become incapacitated or can't do something.
Do I need to have an appointment to come in and get that form, or can I come in and get it and fill it out, or should I come and make an appointment first?
Well, you can do it however you want. If you emailed me, we could just send it to you on email.
Okay. Why don't you tell our audience what your email address is?
Email address is info@northfieldlaw.com, and my personal email is dludescher, LUDESCHER, @northfieldlaw.com. And of course, you can call 507-645-4451. That's 507-645-4451.
And my name is Jackie Smith. I've been here today with David Ludescher talking about elder care. You have all the details, so what are you waiting for? Thank you.
Thank you.